In this week's episode, we're talking about the only two audiences out there that'll ever buy your product.
And how to get started with your own podcast.
NextWaveDV is the story of our journey growing Creative Edge Productions from a tiny studio in my basement to one of the leading video marketing agencies in the Midwest. So join us on our continuing mission of mastering video marketing.
Welcome back to the Mastering Video Marketing Podcast. I'm Tony Reale.
And I'm Ben Carlson.
Hey, Ben.
Hey, Tony.
You know, one thing that we talk about with our customers a lot is the two core types of audiences out there. And this one I came up with a long time ago when I was talking to a chiropractor friend of mine. And we were just talking about like how he has, there's the two different types of audiences, people that are currently going to a chiropractor or people that aren't going to a chiropractor and considering, is this even, something that I want to consider doing?
Sure.
Is it something I need? All that kind of stuff. So we, I kind of turned it into this really somewhat easy to remember definition of those two categories, and I said you can either poach those that do or coach those that don't.
Oh, I love that. One more time for the people in the back.
And again, I'll explain it, but like you can either poach those that do or coach those that don't. And so in the poaching those that do, you're going after that market of people that are currently doing the thing that your target audience.
Sure. And that can apply to many different industries. If it's
Absolutely.
People who are already paying for lawn care, people who are already seeing a chiropractor.
People that are already doing video production and have that need existing. So like for us, a lot of our clients, I shouldn't say a lot, there are clients of ours that do video production. They have those needs, like a lot of casinos that we work with that are currently doing ads, and then they reach out to us and we become their new production company. One of our clients, Initiative One, who we've had on a podcast previously, we do their think tanks and their podcasts, and they had already been doing it. They were just looking for a company to help kind of up their level. Yeah. And so that's a market of people that are currently doing a thing, so that you're trying to poach them, you're trying to get them into your as a customer. Yeah. Then coaching those that don't is going after the market that is not currently using your products or services.
Sure.
So they are, they may not understand the value of it. They may not understand the need of it. They might not have that problem in mind that your product or service it solves. So,
or they might not have found a partner that they trust to handle that problem.
And within that, when we say the coaching those that don't, like there's a lot of steps that you have to go after for that audience.
Yeah.
There are advantages to both audiences, and we're going to talk a little bit about how to approach each audience. But when you're doing the coaching, those that don't, there are multiple steps in that journey that they could be. Like we just mapped out, there could be somebody that is just completely unaware of the problem that your product or service solves.
What do you mean I need a video on my webpage?
Right. Like medical is a great example of that.
Sure.
Like I didn't know that this food that I'm currently eating is adversely affecting my health.
Sure.
I didn't know that if I, adjust my posture better or whatever like that,
Posture check, all
yeah,
right.
Exactly, yeah. There you go. There's your posture check for the day.
Unclench your jaw, remove your tongue from the roof of your mouth, shoulders back. That's a freebie for you.
There you go. So like things that you might just not have been aware of as a possibility. I didn't know that I could be using social media as a great way to advertise and grow my business.
Yeah.
Like all those people that are unaware of that. Now there's the next level of people that are aware of the problem but may not be aware of solutions.
Yeah.
Like, okay, man, I need to get more customers. I need to market my business better. But I have no idea how to even run an ad on Facebook. I have no idea, should I be doing TV advertising? What should I even be doing? Yeah. So there's your audience of people that are, again, aware of the problem, but still not quite sure of the solution. Then you have the next level, which is the people that are aware of solutions out there, but may not be aware of your solution. Hey, I need a cell phone. Should I get an Apple or should I get an Android? Oh, did you know that there's Android phones that now fold in half? And like, okay, did you even know that this stuff exists?
Sure.
I've got one of those folding phones here, and it still amazes me after like the fifth or sixth product cycle that these are on that I still open it up and people are like, what is that? Yeah. And it's like, people still don't know that this is now a category phone that exists. Yeah. So there's the aware, problem aware, solution aware, but not brand aware. So that's kind of that final step of being aware of you. So like I'm aware of solutions and I'm aware that you exist. Now I need to be kind of guided to why you would be a better option for
Sure.
me. Should I pick you or should I pick the guy down the street?
Yeah.
And now beyond that, then there are additional steps of like once somebody is like aware of you and aware of your product services, and even maybe a customer of yours, then there's additional steps that you can do to potentially guide them into being more of an advocate and even, you know, an evangelist of your brand.
Yeah, that's my favorite. That'll be another podcast episode.
Absolutely.
That's one of my favorite steps of the customer journey.
Yeah, and so what we were just talking about there is what we call the customer journey. That going from unaware of a problem that exists all the way through to not only being a customer, but also being potentially a sales force for you, helping you grow your customer base through them. So let's go back to poaching those that do.
Yeah.
Because first of all, in those two different audiences, you have to be setting up different levels of messaging to reach each of them, and understanding that the priorities of each of those companies is different, or customers are different. Because those that are currently doing it, they have a level of expectation. They have a reason that they've been doing it, and they have a reason that they haven't worked with you if they're currently doing it.
Ooh, that's a hard one to hear.
Right.
Yeah.
So again, say for us as a video production company, there's other production companies out there. Maybe they have we've talked about in previous podcasts how, it's the quality of your work is not as important as how easy you are to work with, how that process is like, are you getting back to your clients quickly? Are you, meeting deadlines on time? Are you making the process relaxing, enjoyable? Are you taking things off of their plate and not just putting more stuff on their plate?
Yeah.
And that's a weird line that you got to run as any service-based business, because you can't be expected to do absolutely everything for free, of course. So, but then you're like, well, then if I got to keep charging clients more and more for this, then it gets to be more expensive and it becomes cost prohibitive. So you're riding that line of not working for free, but also not putting so much on the client show. It's like building a house, There are some times where people are like, all right, I don't want to touch it. I don't want to think about it. Just build the whole thing. I want to walk into it and I want to look beautiful. Yeah. And then there are other people that are like, all right, I'll finish the basement. I will, I'll do the landscaping. I'll do these things to help keep the costs a little bit more effective. So you need to have that active conversation with your client to find out where they're at in that process, because for some of them, they may expect complete done-for-you services. Yeah. And you're like, well, the price that we negotiated requires you to be doing something here, being a part of that process. Yeah. And so that's a little freebie there. But coming back to the poaching those that do, again, there's a reason that they are currently with their relationship of their vendor or their product or service that they're going after. Now, a lot of times when people reach out to us, it's usually at that point where it's like, all right, I'm looking to see what else is out there. So being aware of why they do that can also help with your messaging. Are they not satisfied with the quality of the work of their, the vendor that they're currently with? Yeah. Are they looking for fresh ideas? Honestly, that's one of the reasons that we've gotten business and also lost business from certain clients is because they get into the let's just try something else out. And so you got to be actively defending the value and the quality of your work throughout that process. You can't be like, well, they picked me last time. Hopefully they'll pick me again.
And I think it's important to not be afraid to ask that question. If you get brought onto a project that has been working, that they've been working with someone else, why'd you make the change? And it can sometimes feel a little bit uncomfortable because was it a sore subject or was it just creative differences? But having that conversation really helps set the framework for your relationship moving forward and setting that understanding okay, well, the company before me really dropped the ball when it came to creative and response time. Guess what I'm going to be nailing every single time? They're going to get that white glove treatment that I'm coming in and I'm preemptive with ideas, preemptive with responses. And so that really helps dictate what you're doing. If I may also, it's really important then that you are very careful with how you talk about your competition. Mm-hmm. One thing that I love about the market here in Green Bay, at least that I've noticed, is the creative market. We all know each other. I will very rarely ever. I won't badmouth someone else because you never know when you're going to come up in conversation. And you never want to be, oh, well, someone's, Creative Edge was just saying that ABC Productions is really horrible to work with. No, like I will always sing the praises of our competition. We have some incredible videographers and photographers here in Green Bay. So build them up, because if you're building them up, then the expectation is that you're above that level. If you're confident enough to say, oh yeah, our competition's great and here's where we differ, I'm no longer trying to beat anyone else down for it.
Well, and the other side of it too is like you need to be able to define what your UVP or unique value proposition is.
Yeah.
And if you can't, if you look at your competition and they're like, well, they also do what I do.
Sure. If
you can't separate yourself out and very easily say to because like you've mentioned the story of like, you'll ask sometimes other vendors in the past and be like, why would I want to pick my competition?
This episode is going to be full of freebie little golden nuggets. Any sales transaction, if someone is trying to sell you something, my favorite question to ask is, all right, so say you work for your competitor, why should I buy from your competitor? And the best salespeople will be able to give you great answers, because that means they know fully the market. They understand the value and benefit that the competitor brings. They also then know how they differ. If it's just, oh, I would never buy from them, they're a horrible company, they're garbage, I'm really going to question what sets you apart. If you have to tear down your competition to be better,
if they're still around, they're doing something right.
Yeah.
And so you need to be aware of that, because then you know why you stand out, why you're what makes you better in your unique way, and also what they stand out for and how what they're better about.
Yeah.
You should be at that point being able to say that, okay, this is what we're better at, and then lean into those things. So then you're saying this, and we have lost business to our competition, but when we do, it's usually because I'm like what they wanted was something that our competition was better at. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. We can't be all things to everybody fundamentally. We want to be narrowing into our core competencies, what makes us good, and then trying to guide our customers into that direction. So that's a priority that they then have.
So then what do you do for the clients that are like, you know what, no, we've been in business with, we've been in bed with them for the past 15 years. They're great. We love them. What do you do with those?
Again, you want to lean into the areas. If you're aware of your competition, you should be aware of the areas that they would be lacking, and then you can lean into those and say, these are areas that we can either improve what you have right now, improve upon it, either giving you a better product, better turnaround, better results, whatever the things that they might be. Because like for some, you can't just chase the bottom of the barrel for pricing. For some people, we'll be cheaper. Great. Well, you can only do that so long.
Yeah, because then they're going to come back and be cheaper, and then you have to be cheaper, and then you're just racing to be who can be the poorest.
Or just fundamentally, like if your prices start to keep inflation, all that kind of stuff, then you're suddenly less and less competitive.
Right.
And Alex Hormozi and a lot of marketers will talk about like you don't want your product or service to be a commodity.
Yeah.
You don't want to be arguing purely based on price.
Correct.
Because like then I look at you go on Amazon and it's like, well, there's this widget for $12 and this one's $11.50. Why would I spend the $12 when I can spend $11.50?
Sure.
Okay. Unless there's a differentiation on the value of the product. Now, if there's another one that's $20, but like the reviews are higher or the quality of the product is better, whatever it might be, again, it's not a matter of price then at that point. It's a matter of, so we're arguing a different point then.
Correct.
And so you never want price to be your main differentiator.
Yeah.
For us, the transition that we went through from just being purely a video production company to a video marketing agency, we focused not on the quality of our work anymore, but on the results that it can bring to our clients.
Sure.
Which fundamentally is the thing that they're investing in with video production. They're looking for, they don't just want a video that sits on their website. Yeah. They want something that will grow and build their business, build their brand.
See an ROI.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So we pivoted our conversations to be less about, all right, here's how cool this concept is going to be, how original, how amazing, and whatever it might be. We pivoted into having more conversations about, all right, this campaign, this is how we think because of your brand, because of the market research we can do, this is going to be a much more effective campaign than what you're currently doing or what you're not doing at all.
Right.
And those conversations have resonated significantly more. So again, we're not talking apples to apples, we're pivoting the conversation to be more about something that they value, they care about, and they need.
Sure.
But then going into, the from approaching those that do as well, you have to be aware, like you said before, try to have those conversations with clients that have left a previous vendor and find out why. You may not have that as your first conversation, but for example, with Initiative One, when they left their previous vendor, after we did a few productions with them, we were like, okay, first of all, are you happy with what we've been able to provide? And then also, can you tell us what caused you to leave your previous vendor? Making sure that we are, they may have picked us, and we're grateful for that, but we also don't want to be falling into any sort of problems that cause them to leave their previous vendor as well.
Sure.
So having that active conversation with them and making sure that we're hitting the beats that they need and solving those problems and realizing and the other thing too is a lot of times you might even not realize your UVP until your client starts to tell it to you.
Sure.
We were doing a production with a client one time, and they had done video work before, and then we were coaching them and we were directing them and giving them, all right, great, that was a great take. Let's try it this way, and we kind of livened up their responses, and they afterwards are like, you're directing us? This is amazing. Our previous vendor just hit record and that was it.
Yeah.
And, for us, it's that's just, you do that. You don't not do that.
Right. You see a bad take, you help some way.
Right, yeah. And we didn't even realize that was a thing that they valued until we found out that their previous vendor never did that.
Sure.
So again, that can be a thing that you lean into. You might discover a UVP that you never even realized until you have those conversations with them.
It's pivotal, yeah. So what about then coaching those? I mean, it sounds like going after poaching is a great way to go.
Poaching is great because it's an established market. They're already currently doing that. The challenge with poaching is they're probably already doing it.
Yeah.
And so you really need to then differentiate yourself and have very clearly defined reasons that you're a better option, potentially a better option. That is challenging.
Sure.
And that takes a lot of work, and it takes a lot of ad spend. It takes a lot of things to separate yourself. And we've had both success and frustrations going after those market of people that are currently doing it. Yeah. Because again, if they're currently doing it, there's probably a reason that they haven't reached out to you.
Sure.
There's also the other side of it when you're poaching those that don't, where and I know that you've experienced this too, where it's when you reach out to a company out of the blue, there's this well, why are you reaching out? If you're so busy, why if you're so amazing, versus when they reach out to us and they discover us, they've done a Google search or whatever like that, they feel like they found a diamond in the rough, and there's this could we work with you?
Sure.
It's funny the difference.
Yeah.
So that's why we come way back to the importance of content marketing and brand presence and stuff like that, because the perception often is reality, and you need to be showing your competency at a high enough level so when they do discover you, that they are ready to see the value in what you offer in that way.
The other thing, if I may, and I think we're probably going to have to go to coach. We'll do part 2 podcast because I do want to get to our question, because I think we have a really great question today. But one thing that that is really important, and I think you were right there, was talking about how omnipresent you are. So one of my favorite stories is I used to work in manufacturing, and we had a small customer out in rural South Carolina, and they had our crate, our box was filled in a hole in their bathroom door. And I loved it because, it sounds silly, but I love that anytime people came out of that bathroom, they were seeing our brand. They were seeing our name. It was always that name over and over again. And yes, that's a weird placement for it. I get it. But we had such a great relationship with them that anytime a competitor tried to come in, they never got past the lobby, because no, we're set. We have our vendor locked and loaded. So you always want to be present, because what happens if there is a time where your competition or whoever they're working with, there will come a time where they slip up. they make a mistake, they answer an email, and there'll be a time where it's like, you know what, maybe let's just see what else is out there. They didn't respond back. And if you're the name that has been circling, it's like, oh, I see Creative Edge everywhere. It's Creative Edge. They're on YouTube. They have this podcast. I see they're everywhere. Guess who they're going to call? It may be an investigative call. It's like, hey, I've just seen you. We're looking for a couple options. We're currently set with our video production. We just want to see what you have to offer. If you're not in front of top of their mind, in front of their face all the time, you're going to get passed over for those opportunities. That's why it's so important, even for those customers that they say, nope, we're all set. Cool, thanks. If you can get their email, if you can get something and keep feeding them valuable content that they enjoy seeing, that provides value to their life, not just here where we can do more sales with more sales. But if you can provide value to those customers, you will see results. It may be in a month, it may be in 3 years, but those doors will start opening for you.
And the last thing I'll say is, within that realm of coaching those that don't, that's why content marketing is so important, because if you can use that as your platform to then explain to people why they need to do it. And you can use that as an avenue to answer all those different questions in the customer journey. Again, there are people that have not, for years, we would interact with people that thought we would say, do you do any sort of video advertising? And they say, no, we don't advertise on TV.
Yeah.
That's the only way to advertise.
Right.
They have no idea of the full potential of it on digital platforms.
Yeah.
And so, instead of just being like, well, you're stupid, you use content marketing to be like, here's the success stories that we have, case studies, testimonials, market research, educational resources, podcasts, things like we're doing right now. That's a great way to coach those that don't. Because otherwise you got to dump a ton of money into ad spend to cover every single different step of it. But use your content marketing as a platform to answer those questions like we're doing right now. This becomes a great place to then educate your audience into understanding the value of what you offer and why they need to have it and why that needs to be there.
Sure. Yeah. All right. We could talk about this for another hour. I think the next episode, we will do part 2 with coaching those that don't, because I think each one really does deserve it.
And we want to talk about all those different steps of the customer journey and how to market it.
Sure. But like I said, we have a great question for our You Ask, We Answer segment. And it's talking a little bit about what we're talking today. So it's this person asks, I'm looking to launch a podcast, but I don't know where to start. What do I need to get going, and how do I market it to gain traction?
All right. Well, awesome job on getting interested in podcasts. Yeah. We recognize right now that this is a great place to get going.
Sure.
A lot of podcasts are falling off. I think a lot started during COVID, and people are like going, I'm done with it.
Sure.
The other thing is Google has gotten rid of Google Podcasts as a platform, but that's in order to funnel people to YouTube and really push YouTube as a podcast platform. Yeah. So that's really neat. And then, we've found a lot of success in this Mastering Video Marketing podcast. It allows us to have regular content that we can produce at a fairly consistent rate for you guys. And then we can also use it to chop up into short form content, so we can dual purpose it. So we strongly believe, we've done a lot of shorts in the past and we still love doing them, but the efficiency of podcasts and the ability to turn that into short form content and long form content is just awesome. And so we feel like if a business were to say, all right, I'm going to do content marketing, I don't know where to start, podcasts are probably the best place to start.
Sure.
Now, from a formatting standpoint, you could replicate what we're doing, where we have the little intro that gives you just a teaser of what the episode's going to be about. Then having a kind of a canned intro with a little musical thing that tells people, what is this podcast about? Why should I even pay attention to you? Why do you have any expertise? All that kind of stuff. You'll notice that those are all important things that I put into the intro of the MVM podcast. Like I put in there, that the purpose of NextWaveDV is really to tell the story of our journey from amateur to professionals. Yeah. And then also adding in the little bit of social proof to say, we are one of the leading agencies, video production companies in the region. So there's a little bit of our expertise shown in there. And then the point of the podcast is our journey of mastering video marketing. So we're going to share insights to you. We're going to learn stuff and regurgitate it, and hopefully you're going to learn how to master video marketing by watching it. So all that I'm trying to do in 10 seconds. And so that's why we often say take the extra time to figure out that title intro, because it's really important. And then once you go into the podcast, the format that we follow, again, is we pick a subject, we talk about it, and then we have our You Ask, We Answer, the mailbag section. And for a lot of our clients, we do that as well, where it just works really well because it allows, it incentivizes our audience to ask those questions.
Yeah.
And it gives a chance for us to not always be reliant on our ideation.
Sure.
So we can talk about a subject, and then we can answer one of those questions. Then to now get the podcast going, and you've shot it, awesome. You don't necessarily need to be as fancy as we are with multiple cameras and all that kind of stuff. At a bare minimum, I would say use your phone, but just get a decent microphone.
Sure. And does that mean like $100, $200 microphone?
The people will forgive bad video before they'll forgive bad audio. So it can mean that a good microphone will allow, because you got to remember yes, the video podcast is important, and definitely do it, even if it's just a one camera cell phone thing. Yeah. But the audio is the most important, and that's going to be on more platforms. So if you can get decent audio, again, phone audio is okay, but you don't want to get too roomy or echoey. You can
go in your closet, and there, I will say, there's a ton of information. There's a lot of great channels that talk really in depth about the microphones to use, the audio recorders you can use. But
we'll eventually do an episode about just our podcast setup. I want to do an episode about our studio build out, but we're going to talk just simply about how we light this, how we shoot it, how we edit it, all that kind of stuff. And so we'll have an episode that you can look to for that. But at a bare minimum, I would say I've done shorts and videos about these little Ulanzi clip-on microphones that I have. They're USB-C or iPhone Thunder, whatever it is. I can't even think of it. What is the port? Lightning, Thunder.
Lightning and
Thunder.
It's the Thorbolt.
It's you can plug it in, and then it has up to two microphones. So two of us, clip on. There you go. Record to your phone. That's a good place to start. And it's only $50. I'll leave a link in the description of this video for that. But going back to then, all right, what do I do with it? I think a lot of people get hung up on all right, I'm going to do this big rollout. It's going to be this big epic thing. Yeah. And you can do that. I mean, it's not, don't, abandon the potential to really market your podcast well. But that said, just get it out there, because we always say your first is your worst. It's your first few episodes are going to be rough. You're going to get into a good format. If you look back at our podcast, it's improved over the years that we've been doing it. Yeah. And we've also now justified, this has been going well. We've seen audience growth from it. So let's invest in better hardware and a better build out. So you don't need to dump everything into, all this investment, huge amount of money. Just get it going, because people rarely go back and listen to your very first episodes. Unless the topics are really, really good, or you develop a strong fan base. They're going to start listening to your later episodes, and they're just going to keep listening from there if they value the content that you make. So just start getting it out there. That's the most important thing. Yeah. It's more important that you get to 20, 50, 100 podcasts, way more important than trying to perfectly roll out the first one or two episodes.
Yeah. And I think that's a very common, especially for creatives, it's a common trap that we fall into. It's this isn't perfect. I don't want people to think that I'm not good at this. You're not. If you're just starting out, most likely you're not. And even if you are really good at it, then you're just going to get that much better. I know there's one creator who he started many podcasts. He started on many podcasts, but he won't go on to as a guest onto a podcast under 100 episodes, because he said they don't got it yet. It takes 100 episodes. He believes 100 episodes for them to finally kind of get the hang of it, and that's okay. But start putting the content out there. The more that you do, more than what camera, more than what microphone, whatever it is, the more that you do, and the more comfortable that you get, and being on camera, hearing the sound of your own voice, the better it's going to be. And if I may, I think it's also important to listen back to it. And if you're going through and you're like, I would not listen to this. Like if you're tuning yourself off after 5-10 minutes, cool, great. Now you know where you can go back, see where am I tuning out and how can I improve? Maybe I need to make it shorter. Maybe I need to make it more engaging. Maybe I need to find topics that are more relevant. But be critical of yourself, but keep on doing it anyways.
Absolutely. And like for us, we learned that we wanted to tighten up our format. We wanted to get it to under half an hour episodes. We wanted to, as much as the pop culture corner is fun, it's not in line with the core message that we're going after, the education of mastering video marketing. And then adding the mailbag, all these things that we can tweak. We did that after having over a year's worth of podcast episodes. And also by tightening it up, we can then get into a weekly format instead of just every other week.
Yep.
So, you're going to discover things that you're going to want to tweak and adapt and change as you go. So just start making the content and you're going to see the good results. But then again, then don't just be like, all right, I'll upload the podcast, I'm done. Like use it, turn it into shorts, go through, chop it into shorter form content. And that can be then dual purpose. You'll probably get more views on your shorts than you will on the podcast, but that's still, still use it.
Sure.
Like use it as that play, because like in as much as you want to, for brand presence for your business, you want to be in as many platforms as possible for people to discover you. If you're just doing video content, you can be on TikTok and Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. All of those platforms are great, but podcasts are on their own platforms. You got Spotify, Amazon Music, iTunes. Those are places that you can't be if you're only doing just video content.
That's good.
So
that's true.
It's a great place to focus your energy.
Yeah.
But
all right. Well, this was fun. I'm looking forward to part 2.
Yes.
So stay tuned for next week where we talk about coaching those that don't.
And guiding them through every step of the customer journey.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you for tuning in.
Thank you.